Trusted equipment, backed by service. Safer patient outcomes begin with the right equipment and the right partner behind it. That's why we created the MVP program, our commitment to being your most valuable partner in every procedure. When you start using IMP patient protective pads or SteriBump, our sterile surgical bump, you unlock more than just great products. You gain discounted repairs to keep costs down, free loaner equipment to keep you up and running, product discounts to maximize your investment, a 1-year new product warranty, and the exceptional service and support you've come to rely on, delivered by a team that's with you every step of the way. It's more than just a service plan. It's our commitment to stand behind you with best-in-class support, because reliable equipment means safer outcomes for your patients. That's the MVP standard. It's service when you need it, support that's seamless, and protection that's built in so you can focus on what matters most, patient safety. Talk to your IMP representative or visit impmedical.com/MVP to become an MVP today. Because when you invest in IMP, we invest in you.
Family, it's 8 o'clock. Y'all know what that means. It's time to talk. Big shout out to IMP. I know y'all saw that commercial. If you're not an MVP, what are you waiting for? Give your IMP rep a call today and make sure that you take advantage of all of those great benefits. The MVP program definitely is the way to go if you're looking for added value to a program that you already have in your system. If you're already using IMP, why not go the extra step and get the MVP program? Reach out to IMP and find out how they can help you in your departments right now. Hey, Sharon, how are you? Thank you for being here. A couple of big announcements I want to make. Hi, Tandria. November 8th, the Massachusetts chapter is coming back with its fall event. The Massachusetts chapter is having its fall event November 8th. If you're looking to participate, be a vendor, definitely reach out to me and let's make that happen. And drum roll, Time to Talk has officially now launched the Time to Talk extravaganza. First annual event will be taking place July 23rd through the 26th in Philadelphia. More details. I appreciate everybody who's been behind the scenes making this actually happen. All of the speakers have been confirmed, and the location has been now confirmed. And we are going to go back to the essence of what we're doing. We're going to be talking to everybody in all of the peri-op space. That means techs, nurses, doctors, vendors, everybody who has a hand in that patient safety will be represented at this event. Also launching 3 awards that we'll be giving out at this event. It's the Legacy Award that will go towards somebody in sterile processing. It's actually the Educators Award goes to somebody in the peri-op space. And we're also giving out the Service Award, again, to those people that represent for that patient every single day. These awards would be an annual thing, sponsored by some big names that I'll be announcing later. The website will be dropping here very soon. And you can definitely get your registration and everything there. Jill, I see you here. Jill, I see you. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. Jill is speaking with us from the Apex side. Jill will be in the building. For people that know her and seen her on that stage, she will be one of those special guests for this first annual event. It's going to be monumental. I'm excited. My team is excited. And Time to Talk, just finding other ways to give back to the community. I see Kate, Jill, Tandria, everybody here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, I have a show for you today. It's called Talk Dirty to Me. What does those contaminated instruments actually saying? What are they actually saying when you get contaminated instruments back to the department or even in trades. What does that really say? What does it mean? This season, we've covered everything about processes. We've covered education. We've talked about staffing. We've talked about even water quality. So we've talked about all of those things, right? So then now we're saying, if I still get a contaminated instrument, what does that mean for sterile processing and even the OR? What does that mean? So I reached out to a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, everybody's mad because that's just my bestie. She is here to talk about that process and what that means for the industry when you're getting those contaminated instruments. So family, without further ado, can I give a warm welcome to my bestie, Miss Vanessa Frank.
You really know how to hype a girl up. I'm not gonna lie.
You're the best in the business at this right here. So I wanted to hear from you and let the people hear from you and ask any questions they may have around this topic. But I know you as my bestie. But for those people who don't know who you are, can you introduce yourself, please?
I will do my best. It's hard to follow up after that welcome. But hey, everybody, I am Vanessa Frank. I'm the Clinical Resource Manager for Advantage Support Services, also known as ASSI, if you've been seeing that floating around the universe. And I've been in the sterile processing world for, I think, like 13 years. I stumbled in by accident. I didn't even know what I was interviewing for, much less that they accepted me, because I must just interview really well because I had no idea what I was talking about. And by day 3, I was hooked. And then here I am, and this is my life. And I'm stoked to be here. I also appreciate, Kenneth, that you are throwing me a belated birthday party next year.
There we are.
It starts the day after my birthday, so it's all about me. Thank you.
So look, the part I left out for people, and I just want y'all to know, on that third day, it is a red carpet, black tie event going down. So you get to actually walk the red carpet. There's cameras, there's photographers, there's interviews happening. It's going to be like the grandest of events, and just make sure you got to get yourself together. So we definitely going to look forward to doing that. Hey, Angela, so your birthday party, the event is all going down together. Hey, Arlene, how are you? Arlene said hello. Hey, girl. That's just for you. That's all y'all. So Vanessa, talk dirty to me. If you're getting these contaminated instruments, right? And first of all, what does it mean to you? What does that mean if you see contaminated instruments on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, immediately my brain goes, well, it could be a lot of things. Do you have a whole bunch of new folks that just started and they're figuring it out, and maybe they're not as solid in the process as they should be, that they're missing some things? Do you have equipment issues that maybe your washer's not as effective, your ultrasonic's not as effective? Are you ultrasonicing everything that should be ultrasonic? That's a good question, because there's some debate about that.
And that's a big one, because I know I've been places where they put everything in an ultrasonic, and you're like, why? But again, if you don't know the correct process, you're doing what people have shown you. So I get where you're saying, like, are we doing the right processes there?
Yes. Yep.
So go ahead. I'm here. I got you. Hey, Miss Green Golden, how are you?
My goodness, I got all the
everybody
famous
here.
Folks are tuning in. No pressure.
So let me put it more specific. When instruments come back to decontamination with visible soil, what story do you think these instruments? What story do you think those instruments are telling us about the point of use cleaning? Let's start there. Let's start with point of use.
Okay, that's a good starting point. Again, my brain immediately thinks of more than just one answer. One is, was there an issue in the OR? I know that routine kind of wiping and flushing happens during a procedure, but was there something? Yes. Benefit of the doubt for our colleagues, just, playing nice in the sandbox. So did something happen at the end of that surgery that just kicked the anthill? unless we get a phone call, we really don't know. Did you have new folks in the OR, or maybe somebody who came from somewhere else and this is the way that they've always done it?
Right.
An educational opportunity. Maybe just have somebody who doesn't think it's that important. And even if you talk to them, they kind of blow you off. There's, like I said, there's education, there's attitude, there's potential emergency. Regardless, if you are consistently getting things from your OR that there's just bioburden all over the place, you need to keep having that conversation, even though you're repeating yourself. And I'm not one who likes to repeat myself. Ask my children. But you got to do it because it's important. It risks the next patient.
So you got a couple of things going on here. I want to get to all of it. Jill says, yes, the point of use, I said this everywhere. So, okay, point of view starts in the OR. It's a metric commonly tied to SPD, but it's truly a KPI for the OR to measure success. That was that one. Sharon Green goes and say, yes, that's it. No benefit of the doubt. They don't do it. We need accountability, period. It's a standard. Yeah, we can't give them the benefit of the doubt. If you see, and I know that there are places that actually track that, is the point of use cleaning being done so that those metrics can be brought back to the OR, and hopefully some better processing, as you said, education and stuff does take place. Arlene said that doesn't happen in the OR. What are you talking about? Angela was saying that you were right about the ultrasonic. Is it even being ran on the correct parameters in the ultrasonic? Mm-hmm. So just sticking it in an ultrasonic isn't a fix. It's not doing anything if you don't have it on the right things anyway. So all of those things come back to, if we're getting that stuff down back to the decon, and there's still all the gross contaminants and stuff on it, is the point of use being done? We can safely assume no, right? And to your point, is that just an educational piece that we need to try to get involved, get everybody involved? Do we bring in the infection control people? Do we bring in just the OR? How do we play nice in the sandbox, as you say, when they are clearly not doing what they're supposed to be doing?
I mean, yeah, if they're not listening to us, we absolutely bring in reinforcements. So yes, your IP, if it's your surge techs who are not listening, well, then go talk to their manager. Don't be cranky about it, but it needs to be, bring in your risk, bring in your quality, bring in whoever can help reinforce the importance of this. Maintain professionalism. People don't like being corrected as adults, but there are ways you can have a civil conversation. Bring data. I mean, we've got it out there, so show the proof of how their actions impact the whole instrument cycle, potentially their next case, and the next patients.
A lot of times, Drea said they actually track point of use there, and to the point of the time to talks, talking about how do you play nice. So, well, if you're presenting this data in a format that says you wanted this tray quickly turned over, but I now have to do extra processing because it wasn't properly point of use. People don't see those pieces or tie those pieces together about the decon process. So playing nice, and you said present the data, present the KPIs, all these things. So people don't like being told they're not doing the right thing. So what do you do in that situation? Because you know how that goes. If we're trying to improve that relationship, how do we play nice in the sandbox?
I mean, I feel like it's almost a cliche, but to be that more mature, bring donuts. I mean, it's not a terrible idea. Snacks work.
Food works.
Oh, yes, snacks, peace offering. But don't turn it into a shouting match or a fist fight in the parking lot after hours. That's not going to help anybody.
Right.
It is inconvenient. It is difficult. It is frustrating. But if we are leaders, it's expected of us to kind of rise above a situation. It's hard, and you don't always do it because we're people, and people are people, and you can't control the other people. But staying calm, having those rational conversations, making it a consistent thing. Don't just call them and start like, hey, you didn't do this, click. That we need to talk about this. We need to reinforce it. Let's talk about, educate what maybe they don't have the tools they need. Maybe they don't even have their, the pre-clean spray. anywhere near them. They just kind of blinders on, walk past it. Okay, well, let's put it in front of their faces where they're going to be like, oh, that's right. I got to do this. My boss is telling me I got to do this.
Just change
even
it,
if,
or making sure the tools are there and making sure it's a process thing. So
yeah.
To that point, what happens when your people, Sharon said, let me give you this one. The hardest part of leading is leading. And there you go. What happens when the people in your department don't see a result immediately, so they stop reporting that stuff?
That
does happen too. The people will say, hey, nothing's going to happen, so they stop reporting that it's not happening, thus causing more issues during their process, because you're wondering, like, what's taking so long back in Econ? And they're like, oh, nothing, we're just working, but it's a result of other things not being done.
Yeah, I mean, that's sit down. It's all about communication. It really is. It's making sure your team, like, yes, I talked to the OR nurse manager yesterday. We had this conversation. It is not magic. People didn't just wake up this morning and going, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm going to change everything I do. It's a habit, and habits take time to change, and it takes continuous conversation. So keep reporting it, not to just keep jabbing them like, hey, haha, you're doing it wrong, but like, hey, like, we know you're trying to work on this. This is something we noticed. Maybe you guys can readdress it. Maybe there was still a hiccup in the process. Maybe that person was out that day and they didn't read their email or talk to somebody yet. It is all a conversation and making sure that everyone hopefully has some patience with each other a little bit.
And that's great. And so, family, that was the first part of what we were going to discuss, is the point of use cleaning and how do we play nice or educate to the OR part of making sure that takes place. Janine says you have to give to get. Hold the SPT staff accountable as much as hold the OR staff accountable. It's a very good point to what we were saying. If you see something, you need to say something. That sounds like a thing you see on a bus, right? Yeah. So if you see something, you got to say something. But when that doesn't happen, Angela says change happens over time. Data and monitoring is crucial. So yes, making sure that we are identifying these things and making sure that we are talking about these things so that it doesn't just keep happening, right? Jill said it's so important to follow up with people who report issues so they know you listened and did something. That's the other piece of it. The communication aspect says we have to make sure that once that person reports something, yes, we do follow up and say, hey, I did have this conversation. Like I said, you don't have to tell the result of it, but say, hey, I had this conversation. We're going to be still tracking it and just making sure that the things that we're saying does get implemented. Crafting Mom here says, if we as professionals are serious about patient safety, there comes a point when it has to click. There we go.
There should be a deadline. There's a deadline for compliance. Like, isn't that how we KPIs are not eternal. We're not going to hopes and dreams it forever, but like, hey, we're giving you a window. There might be a onesie twosie outlier, but y'all got to get this together.
What if my window's a year? I'm going to monitor this for a year. Is that too long? Because if we're saying because once you give timelines, people kind of, just like when we do the quiz, right? If you see a timer, it changes. Like, it changes people's mindset. So again, back to your point of let's be nice about it in a nicer way, I guess. But we have to be measurables that we can measure, right? You have to have a time frame, and I see that. Patient safety is the cornerstone of what we do. So just making sure that we're keeping that in sight. So now we've corrected kind of the point of use, and instruments are coming down, and we're getting them through the process. And hey, we're on the clean side. And now what happens if those same instruments still show contamination after going through your automated washer? What does that say about the way our processes or equipment is being managed?
Oh, that's
us too, right? It could be us too. So
100%.
Now through the process, and on the clean side, you're still showing stuff. What does that say about our process and equipment?
Yeah, that is a combination of, is the manual cleaning being done? I have heard some folks say, just let the chemistry do its work. Yes, our chemicals do work, but they need some help sometimes. So, our brushing and our flushing and all of that, very important to still do, especially when you get that gross debris from the OR. Your chemicals aren't magic. But also, to the point said earlier, is are your machines operating the way that they should? That's your routine testing. That's your maintenance. That's making sure that you're using the right chemicals in the right dosages for your machine. you don't have any water quality issues. Like there's a whole laundry list of like little things that can add up to create, issues on the clean side.
That's very good points. And we want to touch a little bit more on that, but we're going to do that right after this commercial. If you want to be one of those people who can get on that stage and captivate a room, definitely reach out to UCDI and take that language mastery course. It will change the way you approach this business, and the speaking is absolutely marvelous. Reach out to UCDI. Vanessa, right before that commercial, we were talking about our processes and our equipment. You said some key things there where you said maintenance, making sure the right chemicals and dosages. Everybody doesn't monitor that stuff. Everybody's not maintaining their equipment the proper ways. Again, that's back to education and training. Where do we step in to say these things are being done? Is that just not something that happens in regular every day? Or is it just a slip in the crack where, hey, it just goes off the radar? I just want to make sure we're touching on that. But Angela said, and here we are. It always circles back to training and education. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, agreeing, Angela, I'm an educator at heart. But that's my first thought is like, did we talk about this? Did we cover this? Are we reinforcing? But yeah, as far as maintenance of your machines, it's here or there. Some folks do a great job. They're like, hey, the IFU says we got to do this every day, and they do it, and that's great. Other folks, it's kind of like, me with my dishwasher. I don't really pay attention until it stops running, and then I'm like, oh, what do I do? Yeah. Don't treat it like your dishwasher. But if you're not sure, your IFUs, like that's the IFU for your automated washer is ginormous, and it's super detailed. And I mean, not all the information may be relevant to you as its operator.
Yes.
But they detail your daily, your weekly, your monthly. I think, if you've got every 2 years, like they detail all that out. And then if you're still not sure, call the rep, because that's what they're there for. They're supposed to be helping you maintain your equipment. If it's been a hot minute since you've seen them, heard from them, say, hey guys, like, are we due? Are you in the area? Have them come in.
It's just not about relying on like your biomed to do their little routines and sign off on the little sticker on the machines. It's actually following, and dare I say it, we're following IFUs that tell you weekly, monthly, quarterly what you're supposed to be doing. Do we have records in our departments that saying that we are doing these things? I know we do everybody gets up and they say, hey, we do the testing, but are you checking the arms? Are you doing that other maintenance stuff that has to be done to make sure that they're running properly? Back to I heard you say chemistries. Are we following the IFU for the chemistries correctly? Or do we have the right temperature of the water in the sink? Are we rinsing off the pre-cleanse before we go to the enzymatic? Oh, I don't want to say that out loud, but they say, you can't do that. You got to rinse them off before you put them in there, or they counteract each other. But I'm not the one to say that. I didn't say that. So are we tracking and monitoring these things? So when we're seeing just contaminations and instruments coming out of the automated washer, I know people automatically say, well, send it back. Yes. But are we questioning why? I think that's the biggest piece of, if you're getting consistent stuff sent back to decon, it can't just be the person's not cleaning, right? It has to be other things happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it depends too, like what it is, where's your bioburden. If you've got those take apart lap instruments and like the lumens are always kind of cruddy,
Yes.
they need to be brushed, you know. So if the inside is, yeah, there's nothing's happening inside. And we've all heard borescopes, they're a beautiful tool and you can see all the grossness. But if it's you know just kind of on the surface, you got to check your baskets because the baskets count. You have to clean those too. Sometimes you get like, not to be gross, but we're all family here. The fat globules and the chunks of stuff. It doesn't magic go away. You got to sometimes wipe it off. But yeah, just what is soiled, like where, can tell you a lot of whether it's maybe your person in decon is newer, or maybe they're by themselves and they're slammed and they need another set of hands, or your machine is, you know, not working and one of your arms is stuck and it's not spinning because it's full of the little broken off pieces of your locks.
So I know that you said stuff like the cleaning process. So is that the time to say, hey, are you using the correct brushes? Did you hook it up in the sonic for it to have stuff flowing through it? Did you do all those steps? Is those things that you look at in that moment as well? Because maybe somebody just says, I put a brush through it, but you're like, if the brush is too small, then you didn't really do anything.
Yeah, I mean, you have kind of that, do you interrupt the flow, especially if it's the heavy period? But at the same time, if you don't address it right then and there, everything after that, you're going to be questioning. You got a second guess. If it doesn't get properly inspected in assembly and it moves on, then we have even bigger problems. So if something comes to the attention of assembly and they call, you know, the lead, the educator, whoever, be like, hey, like, I think there's something going on in decon. Can you check on Kenneth? I think he's by himself. He might be overwhelmed. He might have just kind of hodgepodge things just to push things through. Absolutely. Go in and be like, hey, I need like 2 minutes. Can we talk about this? Which brush did you use? Okay. You have to use the one that's a little bigger diameter. Hopefully it's not one of those things that's out of stock. You know, we have supply issues sometimes. So, but yeah, absolutely. I would say have that conversation.
Yeah, you got some really good engagement here. So I want to make sure I get it. Arlene says, say it louder. You got it right on head. Angela says it's the responsibility of SPD to follow the preventive maintenance schedules. While biomed and vendors may be doing the work, it's SPD job to make sure that it happens. And very true. I know that when biomed and them coming in, they're just doing their routine checks, but that actual maintenance does need to be documented and something.
Absolutely.
And Janine comes in and says, records are so important. If there's no documentation, it didn't happen. We have to document throughout all our processes. And I think that is the point that we're trying to make, is that we can say we do all of these things, but then when we ask for the record and it's not there, did you do it? And you have to, we're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt for integrity. But if I don't have a record of it and I can't prove it, I can't prove it. Arlene says, how often are you seeing staff not cleaning borescopes at the places you visit? She's trying to get us. She's trying to get us into all this
stuff. Yeah, that's definitely something that, especially folks who maybe they're just implementing a borescope, like make sure you hit it home, is like, okay, so you stuck it down a channel and it's, whether it's gross or not, honestly, even if it looks clean it, like wipe whatever the IFU says to do in between. Because you know, it's we're in the business of reducing risk. So do what you got to do to reduce the risk.
So to everybody's point, if we're training and educating, I know it's going to be everybody, but who starts that process of, hey, this is how we do ABC. We need to document here. I was somewhere and they didn't have a documentation of leak test in the leak tester. And I was like, I do know this has to happen every time every single time you use it, you're supposed to document this. Oh, we do it, but there was no record of it. So again, if there's no record, did it happen? Back to your point of call everybody, the rep, the vendor, the manufacturer, call everybody, because if it's in the IFU and we need to be doing it, let's get them involved and show us the proper ways to do it, because that's the only way we're going to actually be doing it correctly and make sure that it's actually getting documented. We have to have a record of these in-services, this training, whatever this maintenance is that's being done. We have to make sure that we are following those schedules. So that's where I want to make sure that we're, again, let's go back, let's recap a little bit. Point of use, if we're seeing, a lot of gross stuff come down from the OR, we are having a nice conversation about point of use cleaning. We're playing nice with them and, hey, trying to re-educate, train, whatever the case may be.
You can be firm, but be professional. Like, that's what I'm saying, is don't start yelling at each other in the hallway, because then that's when everybody starts. But yes, be firm. Like, this is unacceptable. We need to work towards making it better.
Okay, so now we've corrected that. Now we have our cleaning process. We're getting it through the process. It goes out through the washer, do all the things. It comes out on the clean side. You still see contaminants. So now we have to go back and look at, was it the actual process or was it the actual equipment? So you have two different foes there that you have to try to educate and bring people up to speed on. It's got to be one of those two. So where do we start? And then you're looking at all of those processes to make sure it's the same thing, right? So now let me ask this other question. If you find dried blood or tissue at the final assembly, what does that suggest to you about the strength or weakness of the entire cleaning and inspection process? If we've gone through the whole process and now you're at that final quality check and you find dried blood or tissue stuck on instruments, because you can tell clearly that it didn't just come out the washer, it was there. What does that tell you about the overall process?
If I pulled a tray off the shelf to check it and there's dried blood and tissue, I'm going to ask if it even hit my decon. Then that's a, okay, who put this tray here? Where did it come from? Did it get snuck in by somebody who doesn't work in sterile processing and just like, oh, it's fine, or like over here, like, no. That's definitely where you start like trying to back trail that tray, where it came from, who had it last. I mean, if it did go through decon, yeah, you super have, like, you've got a process and your washers maybe didn't even turn on. Depending on how much
there's no water. Left. There's no water washer, don't worry about it.
I mean,
that's to Arlene. Arlene says, if you follow all the rules, you miss all the fun. That's why I said, Arlene, be firm and speak loud. Don't do that. Don't do that. We're going to have her an international incident. Okay. Inspection might not be happening in decon and in prep and pack. Interesting. So what do you think about that? If you're finding dried tissue and blood at the final QC, happening in all these other places.
Yeah, that's definitely a very big concern, because everybody should be saying, oh, that's not acceptable, and kicking it. And it needs to be in decon. Whether it's in decon, it should be handled there. If it's an assembly and you see it and you're like, oh no, whole tray back, not just the one dirty instrument, folks, the whole tray.
Wait. So you think if I find a dirty instrument, I can't just send that instrument through the window?
How do you know that it's the only dirty instrument?
I just want to ask the tough questions. I'm just saying.
That's okay. That's
that way though. I've seen people send that one instrument back.
Yes, and it's one of those. It's like, okay, like, is the tray a turnover? But at the same time, again, we are in the business of reducing risk. Do we do the right thing or do we do the easy thing?
Ooh, okay. Right thing or easy thing? And say, y'all, that's the theme for today. Is it right thing or easy thing? I want to get Simone's comment in. She says, definitely investigate. Was it put on the return cart in error or something else? Why was that tray in that space with the dry tissue and blood? We're going to have to do some investigation and get around that. And we're going to be right back with Vanessa right after this commercial.
In a world overflowing with noise, are you truly being heard? Or better yet, are you truly listening? Kenneth Campbell, industry author and expert in sterilization, is back with his latest book, Learn to Listen, so others are willing to talk. This book isn't just about hearing words. It's about understanding, connecting, and building trust. Whether you're leading a team, navigating relationships, or simply striving for better conversations, these practical strategies will transform the way you communicate. Imagine a world where every conversation leads to deeper connections, resolved conflicts, and greater influence. It's possible when you learn to listen. Are you ready to elevate your communication and create meaningful relationships? Learn to listen so others are willing to talk. Available now.
Trusted equipment, backed by service. Safer patient outcomes begin with the right equipment and the right partner behind it. That's why we created the MVP program, our commitment to being your most valuable partner in every procedure. When you start using IMP patient protective pads or SteriBump, our sterile surgical bump, you unlock more than just great products. You gain discounted repairs to keep costs down, free loaner equipment to keep you up and running, product discounts to maximize your investment, a 1-year new product warranty, and the exceptional service and support you've come to rely on, delivered by a team that's with you every step of the way. It's more than just a service plan. It's our commitment to stand behind you with best-in-class support, because reliable equipment means safer outcomes for your patients. That's the MVP standard. It's service when you need it, support that's seamless, and protection that's built in so you can focus on what matters most, patient safety. Talk to your IMP representative or visit impmedical.com/MVP to become an MVP today. Because when you invest in IMP, we invest in you.
Do you have your most valuable partner? That's what I'm saying to you right now. Do you have your most valuable partner? If not, definitely reach out to IMP and see what they can bring to your facility with the services that they're offering. Make sure you reach out to IMP for the most valuable partner. And on the other side of that, I need to meet this Kenneth Campbell guy, because I saw that book up there and I want to know who he is. I got to shake his hand and get an autograph. Learn to listen so others are willing to talk. Make sure you get your copy wherever you get your books from. All right, we're here with Vanessa Frank, and we've been talking about what contaminated instruments are really saying. And it's seeming like we're scoping all the way from the point of use to the process to our equipment and all in between. So we're touching on all facets of what that looks like, and the engagement's been good. I think I got a lot of stuff to talk about here, Vanessa. It says, Jake says, it's all good. It's all good. Go back. So it could have contaminated others. So yes, not just the one item that you found in your hand at that moment. Everything needs to go back to decon, send the whole tray back. Angela said, I've had great response with asking them for help. I need your help coming up with a way to eliminate this issue. What do you think will help? Again, engaging with your vendors, engaging with those partners to say, hey, this has been an issue. What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen? Simone, check your process when it comes to reps and vendors coming onto the floor. Trays was open in the room, was the patient in the room, trays dropped off from another part of the hospital campus. There's so many variables. Loaner trays should always go through decon process every time it's checked in. I have seen that. They bring the trays in and you don't know where it came from. And they say, hey, all right, let's do this tray, wrap this tray, do this and that. And Janine says, sneaky reps. Yes, you have to make sure that tray does go through your decontamination process. Simone said, is everyone aware what the protocol is when a tray is open in the OR and the patient is in the room? Absolutely. Making sure that, again, to Vanessa's point of the training and education, that everybody's on the same page and we're all following the same rules, because we know not everybody plays by the same rules when it comes to that kind of stuff. And that leads me to this next thing that I want to ask about. And it says, when you notice contamination trends across different surgical specialties, so we're not just talking about one specific thing, like not just ortho, GY, everything. If you notice contamination trends across different surgical specialties, what bigger message does that send about the culture, training, or systems in sterile processing?
That's a kind of loaded question, because if you've got contamination just everywhere, essentially, Yes, that is a process issue. That is education issue. If it's getting through to your clean side, that's also an equipment issue. Like that's where you make the all encompassing exhaustive list, and you're like, all right, guys, we've got to figure out what's happening. Not a finger pointing necessary, like, hey, so and so's in decon and they're not doing their job, but okay, we will re-educate you, but like you also need to understand we have this standard. You have to do these things. We have IFUs, we've got processes, we've got policies, we have expectations, and everybody involved in the instrument cycle needs to be aware of everything that they're supposed to be doing, from your OR colleagues to your SPS to your vendor reps, who, some of them are sneaky. I do agree. Some of them are sneaky. Some of them are cool. If they're sneaky, then you need to have a good old heart to heart with them and say, this is no longer acceptable. If you've got locked doors, guess what? You can just take away their key. Or if they've got a badge, revoke their access. I don't know what to tell you. I don't not in charge of your hospital, but they shouldn't just be willy-nilly coming into your department.
Right.
They are guests. They don't work there in your department.
So I think one of the key things, and I saw a couple of things here. Arlene said, do the right thing when no one is looking. And that's always going to be that one thing that we hope that people are doing right. You want to hope that the training, the education, the time that you put in, getting these people to a certain point, that when you're not around, that stuff is still happening. You want to hope that that's how that goes. And again, so one of the key things I said in that last thing is culture.
Yes.
What is the culture? How does culture play an effect on that processes?
Yeah, culture is a big thing, and it's really, really difficult to change if you are the solo voice shouting into the void. A lot of times, and not necessarily everybody, but a lot of times you've got the folks who've been there forever and ever, and they're set in their ways, and they have their own kind of mentality, attitude, whatever. And then you've got the bright-eyed newer folks who maybe they just got out of school and they're like, I'm super stoked, I'm getting my 400 hours and blah, blah, blah. They come in, and then that excitement meets up against this is the way we've always done it mentality. And it's hard to overcome that. But that's where, again, throwing that in as leaders, it's part of the gig, is working to somebody said something about asking for help on how to solve things. That's actually a really great way to start trying to change your culture, because if you've got the folks who've always done it this one certain way and you're like, we have to change this process, maybe it's a legal thing, whatever, go to them and be like, hey, you've been doing this longer than I've been alive. How can we solve this? How can we come into compliance in a way that would really like get that buy-in to help with that culture? Because
I got one. What about that's why I keep a brush on the clean side.
That's why they invented bore scopes.
But that's one of those cultural fixes that people can't live without their brushes on clean side. I had Jesse on here not too long ago, and he talked about spraying everything with alcohol, because that's just routinely how everything has been done. Is alcohol helping you clean anything? What is it? You know what I'm saying? So getting into all of those nuances of that's the process. How do we change that culture? And is training, education. There you go again, Angela. I said it. The training and education is all circling back. Simone says definitely following the steps, training, coaching, but also accountability, however that may look. Verbal warning, written warning, like you mentioned, take away access from folks, but also assessing, is this a staffing issue? Ooh, we haven't even touched on that one yet. The staffing issue, staff short or lack of planning your coverage can truly hinder the success of your department. And then that's part of that process and culture, right? If you don't even have enough staff to get through a normal shift, but they still want everything turned over, all the cases are still coming to decon, and now you have 8 carts in decon, and the person back there is like, hey, I got to get this stuff out, and they're just getting it through. Is that a problem? Can that be a potential why we're seeing some of the trends that we're seeing with the contaminations?
Oh, 100%. like you said, you've got that short staff and you've got that one person maybe who's just barely holding on. They've been in decon for 6 hours without a bathroom or a water break, and they're starving to death because they didn't eat breakfast. Yeah, they're gonna start, like, they're gonna be exhausted. You start getting that brain fog. We all know decon is not a really great environment to be really active in. We all sweat to death and partially die a little in our PPE. So having enough people 100% can be something that helps with your bioburden rates.
Sharon said brain fog is real. So when you're back there, it does happen. I saw another user say to the contamination trends and stuff, is it a trend with a certain person in decon? Are we tracking that kind of stuff? Does this only happen when Bob is in decon? Never when Robert's back there. It's sometime when Susie's back there. Are we tracking who's back there? Is that part of the bigger picture as well? So just making sure we're following those type of things too. So when we're tracing and tracking back, making sure that we're looking at, like you said, looking at everything from the right water temperature to chemistries to equipment to personnel, OR/SPD. Where do we draw the line and say this is a total issue that we have going on here? I want to make sure that we are all in that process together. You said something earlier, and we talked about it a little bit about the borescopes and things like that, but I want to talk about a different scope real quick. Not even different scope. Let's talk about biofilm. When biofilm is found, whether it be on a scope or another kind of complex instrument, what does that tell you about the manual cleaning steps that we're carrying out?
Manual cleaning was probably not done to the level it should have been done. I say that because I think, most of us know bioburden is basically a bacterial fortress.
Right.
And it needs to be physically, removed. Now, mind you, if you've got damaged instruments with cracks and crevices that you're not going to get it all out probably. But if it's just a solid, you've got a real nice solid instrument, there's no pitting, there's no cracks, and there's biofilm, then there needs to be a little more attention paid to, especially those flexible endoscopes, because we all know those are just harbingers of doom for bacteria at times. Right. Making sure, I know there's one IFU that has you do the brushing and the flushing and the suctioning, and then it has you do it all again, and then all again. It's tedious, right, annoying, but it comes back to that doing what you're supposed to do.
You got a lot of good engagement here. It says somebody agreed with Sharon and said that people can go on autopilot when they get into their routine. They just know that this is what they're supposed to be doing. So that 5 minute soak that you may think was 5 minutes to you because you do it so much may have been one. You may not have soaked it at all, just thinking that you're doing these steps and getting it through. Simone says, then again, the volume of surgeries, meaning some services may book more cases and you may not have the inventory to cover, resulting in higher quick turns, which means you're skipping steps. Again, just because we have to get that tray back up, right? Sharon said it's it's not being done correctly. Again, all of these are things that we see, we try to mitigate. But if you're short-staffed and you're dealing with short-staffed, are you truly in decon watching the process? You're still trying to make sure that all of the case cards got into the OR. You're still trying to make sure that the rep brought the right trays in. So from a managerial standpoint, you're still trying to make sure your department runs. So you're not watching the person truly going through decon. You just know that, hey, there was 8 carts and now it's 1. It's like, what happened? Again, Arlene said Vanessa is killing it tonight. Yes, she is. Definitely covering all the pieces, and we're definitely going through and touching on all the subjects, and she's definitely making it happen. Simone, biofilm, it takes time to occur, not just that one time. That's what I was going to ask you for people, and definitely family, forgive me because I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence, but Vanessa, just touch on biofilm versus bioburden real quick, because I think just when we say that biofilm was found there, and to her point, it takes time for biofilm to be there. So what does that actually mean?
Yes. So your bioburden is, like we were talking about, it's those little like fresh, fresh residue that comes off fairly quickly, easily, whether you're wiping it or you're brushing it, and it's removed. Your biofilm is when you've got that one person in decon and there's 8 carts backed up, and that 8th cart wasn't pre-cleaned, and it sits for like 3 hours, and it just, your bacteria just multiply and multiply, and they're like, hey, this is a great place to live. Let's build a castle. And then you're that one person, you finally get to the 8th cart, you are brain fogged and starving, and you're about to pee your pants, and you're like, I just got to get through. And it gets through. Well, it doesn't get cleaned off. And then it goes through the washer, and maybe your washer, doesn't get it off because maybe your washer's funky. And then it goes through your autoclave, and guess what? Now it's cooked, and then it goes back to the OR, and it just piles on and piles on and piles on, leaving just a festering breeding ground waiting to infect one of these poor folks that we're trying to take care of.
So to her point, like just making sure that we are trying to address the carts in a timely fashion. Let me get Sharon's comment first. Hopefully you have team members who understand the importance of doing it right, not fast. And that is where that manual cleaning does come into play. It's not a race. Even if it's a quick turnover, it's still not a race. And I tell people this all the time. Everybody by now knows I work for Turbot or whatever. But what I say is, even though you're working and you're trying to do more efficiency in the department, decon doesn't change the process. Your decon process still should be your decon process, which means you're not skipping steps. Yes, we can save you time on the clean side with efficiency and all that kind of stuff. But if you put it into something dirty, it's still dirty. Yeah. Like, so one of our points of another show we did is clean, sterile. I mean, it's dirty, sterile. Just making sure that you're doing the process right from the beginning. Sharon says you should not process broken instruments for reuse, only for repair. I hope everybody hears that. You should not be reprocessing broken instruments for reuse, only to be sent out for repair.
Yes.
Because I know that those are the comments come up where, hey, that's the only one we had, put it back in the tray. Nobody complained about it, put it back in the tray. That happens, right? But you as the professional should be pulling those instruments out. So if you, as you say, you see pitting, you see cracks, you see any of that stuff, you should be pulling those instruments out. You can't reprocess that type of stuff because you can't even be sure that it's really clean. I saw my guy Ebo is in the building. Ebo says,
oh boy,
everything to determine whether it's the process or a person opportunity. We just can't just jump to Susie A, always sitting in dirty items. Again, back to tracking the process, back to tracking equipment, maintenance was done. Are we using the right chemicals? It all goes back to what we were saying. Do we have solid processes in place to make sure that what we're doing is the right thing? Janine says that biofilm is what you soak, you scrub, and try rust remover, ultrasonic, rinse, and praying the washer gets it off. Yes, that is actually what you're doing. You're doing all of those things and hoping that we can get it off. But again, why do we have, and again, not throwing shade at nobody in particular, nothing. Why do we have 8 carts backed up in one person? It is staffing at that point. So we're looking at all of these different things to say, if you have dirty instruments coming through your decontamination area, there has to be something that's happening. We don't know what it is, but we can do the investigation to try to find out where is that opportunity for improvement going to be. Where are we going to find that opportunity? Simone says, we recently had to explain to the OR that quick turns still go through the whole process. The difference is that it's a priority tray for that day, not just that day is priority. So we'll get it to the front of the line, but the process still remains the same. And I don't think they understand that, because that's probably why you're not getting that pre-cleanse. That's probably why you're not getting that stuff done, because, hey, we got to get this down to decon so they can get it back up for the next case. The doctor's going right after this.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody, real quick, the link is in the comments. It's there. If you're not on your phone and you want the QR code, get your phone together, because it's going to be coming up here shortly. You're going to see the QR code for tonight's quiz. Make sure you are getting these CEUs. It's an added value that we've been afforded the opportunity to give to you. So each show now has a CEU. Let's make sure that we do it. I know you have to remove the comments so they can see the whole QR code, and we're going to do that just to make sure y'all have that. But definitely the link is in the other link is in the comments. Make sure you see that as well. Make sure you get that as well. So if you're not on your phone, here's the QR code. If you are on your phone, the link is in the comments. Vanessa, as I always do around this time, I want to just talk about, I want you to give insight or supportive words to that new person in sterile processing who is questioning everything because it's not the stuff they read in the book.
Oh boy. Yeah.
They read in the book, trying to figure out, hey, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but this is what they're showing me. What words of encouragement can you give to that person?
To that person who's questioning, your department is not the only sterile processing community available to you. So don't feel like you're the only person questioning, if this is the way we've always done it, and it's not the way it should be done. Like, you're not alone. Please, you got a big wide world of us folks out here. Call Kenneth. He knows everybody. But also, if it's hard for a new person to necessarily question folks that have been there for a while, and they're like, no, you don't know what you're doing. You're new. But it is important to for them to have that voice and to say, like, no, but for real, here I'm showing you. So please tell me why this is not the way it's happening. Like, try get their logic, and then be like, okay, you're gesturing at me.
No, I know Ebo's trying to start stuff, and I know we don't have enough time to do this, but I'm gonna say it just because he said it, and he knows it's a prior show that we've done, and he said, "Does cleaning and decontamination really matter?" And we have paper circulating that says that the bioburden has no effect on sterility. I don't have enough time in this show for that right now, Ebo, but that is a true question, and I'll give you a few minutes because I don't know if you've seen that study or you saw it on my show here. Oh, he said that was Gerald, not Ebo. My fault. Gerald.
Oh no, it's Ebo. It's Ebo.
That was Gerald.
Uh-huh.
Gerald answered that one, but to that point, when there are studies coming out, and we talked about it on a different show, and we talked about the need for more research, but when there are studies being done as the one that was referenced that says that bioburden can be sterile, does that mean we change processes for the cleaning and decontamination of stuff? To Gerald's point, does it really matter if it gets through and they say, hey, it's fine?
So, okay, to that point, let's say hypothetically that study, the bioburden is sterile, and then parts of it go into the patient and they get sewn up, and the patient's body is like, whoa, guys, there's something weird in here, and starts to react. Do we really want that for our patients? For them to have, even if it's sterile? You got sterile gauze that gets left in people. It's sterile. It should be fine, right? Similar concepts? No, it's awful. They end up having all sorts of problems. They have to go back in. They have to try and figure out why they're having all these adverse reactions. That's my opinion. That's where I stand on that.
I just love the comments. Simone said that infamous study. Everybody's heard about this study. The study has shaken, the foundation of what we know to be true for sterile processing. However, as the host of that show, I will say, I think that it does need more research, but I think that forward thinking, we should all be looking at, is there room for change? I don't know. I just say I'm impartial to all of it. I just want people to make their own decision based on what they're reading and what those studies actually say. Again, this has been Vanessa Frank. She has definitely lit up the room tonight with all of the nuggets that she dropped everywhere, and I appreciate that. I want to give one more thing. Put it on your calendars. Save the date. More information to come. The Time to Talk extravaganza is going to be taking place. It's going down July 23rd through the 26th, 2026, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I can even tell you the venue, the Notary Hotel. I can tell you even all about that already. But the Time to Talk extravaganza. If you will not want to miss this event, it's going to be epic. Vanessa, today you talked dirty to me. You told me all the stuff that people wanted to hear. Like, we talked about pre-cleaning, we talked about maintenance, we talked about training, education, we talked about process, we talked about culture. You hit it all right on the head and gave everybody the answers to their questions. We addressed a lot of the comments, and I want to say thank you. You have come through and you have shown love to the family. We should have had you on here sooner, but I am glad you're here now. And I appreciate you coming through and enlightening us with everything. Again, any last words for the family that you want to shout out to them today, to everybody watching? What do you want to say?
Oh my gosh. First off, thanks for showing up, guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me on a Thursday evening. I know. Well, depending on your time zone, but for me, it's the evening. It's past my one kid's bedtime. But yeah, thank you for your comments. I know that what I say is not the one and only way of doing things and thought process. So I 100% love the dialogue. The fact that whatever I said made you go, I want to say this too. I love it. Let's keep it going, because that's what helps our industry just keep moving forward and growing.
Definitely. Again, another big shout out to IMP for making this all possible. IMP, if you don't have them as your most valuable partner, reach out to them today. Check with your local rep and see how they can help you transform your department from just having a sponsor vendor to having a partner. See what they can do to help you along that path. Family, it's been time to talk. Tandrea, thank you. I saw it too. Tandrea does have her book. I saw her say it. I have my copy, and I know she has her copy. So we talked about it. Definitely same time, same place next week. As always, it's been a time to talk. I hope to see y'all soon. Thank y'all for showing up. Vanessa, thank you for being here. Family, we'll see y'all soon. Thank you.